che si chiama Amit Gospoli, professore indiano, che infatti è un uomo che ha, direi, studiato la fisica quantistica decenni fa all'Università di Calcutta, come si dice in italiano? Calcutta, sud dell'India più o meno. Poi è andato negli Stati Uniti a insegnare, perché è un teorico, ha insegnato per 38 anni, professore di fisica quantistica e basta, classica. Così facendo non era felice. Di cosa? Non era felice dell'interpretazione, perché gli scienziati non cercavano di interpretare la fisica quantistica come era stata concepita dai pionieri un secolo fa, dal 1900 al 1925. Tutto è stato stabilito a livello teorico. E quindi ha iniziato, è tutta una storia lunga che viene raccontata in questo libro che c'è qui, il dottor Quantico e altri, e ha iniziato a interpretare e a capire delle cose, e quindi fa il legame tra la teoria e non la pratica, direi, ma la sperimentazione. E tutto quello che dice è stato validato da sperimentatori attraverso il mondo, e lui racconta questi esperimenti. Quindi abbiamo qualcuno che ha insegnato al Noetic Sciences Institute in California, ha insegnato al Holmes Institute di Los Angeles, all'Unipass nel Brasile, alla Società Teosofica, grazie Rita, senza di te non posso, al Norma College of Holistic Studies in Svezia, al Sivananda International Yoga, conosciuto, e i vari centri vedantici del mondo. Vedantici, l'autore di oltre 40 libri, 4 sono tradotti in italiano, ne abbiamo uno qui, e ha ricevuto gli elogi da Deepak Chopra, Stanley Kipling, Larry Dossé, Willis Arman, e parla di un paradigma quantistico della coscienza, perché il suo messaggio principale è che la coscienza è alla base di tutto. Punto. Però c'è da sviluppare. E quindi è un rapporto sullo stato dell'arte che ci offre tramite una video, perché è un uomo un po' anziano, direi, viaggia tantissimo nel mondo, ma era in Brasile 3 settimane fa, adesso è in Romania e quindi è un po' complicato. Allora abbiamo, direi, qualcosa che ci può dare un cenno sulla teoria che abbiamo, quindi stiamo attenti a ciò che dice, e abbiamo dei sottotitoli in italiano. Ah, che bello, un po' basso, quindi potete alzarvi se non volete vedere, ma io lo schermo non posso.
Hello everyone, this is Amit Goswami, quantum physicist, consciousness researcher. I want to start thanking Patrick Kersey for giving me the opportunity to address you at this conference. Quantum physics, I said in my first expression in a movie made in 2004, What the Bleep Do We Know? I said quantum physics is the physics of possibility. What I meant by this is, of course, quantum physics talks about waves of possibility, objects are waves of possibility, and by choosing, we make experiences. But we can also interpret this sentence as quantum physics has the possibility of doing many things, like which I did not even anticipate at that time, solving all the outstanding scientific problems that existed at the time, and to some extent, many people think that they still exist. But in actuality, quantum physics and science based on quantum physics, which we call quantum science, has solved all those problems, or at least most of these problems, if not all. On the face of it, people identify my work as integration of science and spirituality. This is true. The ontology that quantum physics gives us is this. Objects are possibilities of consciousness to choose from. And this consciousness is a oneness consciousness. Otherwise, we get paradoxes. Who gets to choose? If all observers ultimately are rooted in one consciousness, then the paradox disappears. And this oneness consciousness, this is the ontology of spiritual traditions, wisdom traditions. In this way, it is right that quantum physics integrates science and spirituality. But this integration goes much further, you see. Because our choice produces experience. Now, what kind of experiences? We already know that empirically, so eventually quantum physics has to explain sensory experiences, experiences of feeling, thinking, and intuition, and also the experience of the self. All these experiences. And while doing that, we found that truly quantum physics itself, quantum measurement theory itself, suggests that these have to be the different experiences. In other words, everything smoothly joins together. Let me explain that. Materialists usually raise this big point that brain, where we find our experiences to occur mainly, mostly, is a macroscopic object at room temperature. Such objects are not found to be quantum. Unless you cool it down, you cannot claim that an object will be quantum. So is this valid? What happens if it's not quantum? Is it Newtonian? No, that is not proven either. There is something called decoherence. Coherence is a quantum property when waves move in phase together. So there is a phenomenon called decoherence that does happen when the object is large. Decoherence means that the different parts of the object are not moving in coherence, not moving in phase. Understood. However, there is an exception. The amplifying apparatus. We cannot see a submicroscopic quantum object directly. We cannot see an electron without amplifying it. The amplification apparatus can be a photographic film, fluorescent plate, a Geiger counter, a bunch of Geiger counters, because the electron can appear in any position that the wave indicates. Wave indicates many positions. Choice produces a collapse of all those positions, all those possible positions into one position. So if you have to put Geiger counters in all the possible positions, then Geiger counter also can be an amplifying apparatus. Usually, traditionally, we call this amplifying apparatus measurement apparatus, producing some misconceptions on the way. But ever since von Neumann, it became very clear that the measurement apparatus, this amplifying apparatus, that must pick up the possibility wave nature of the electron that it is trying to measure. All the possible positions, we must put a Geiger counter in every position. Like that. And all those positions, all the Geiger counters must be in coherence in order to represent the coherence of the electron. Okay? We caused the mischief by generalizing this. Originally, Schrödinger, the co-discoverer of quantum physics, was the culprit. So this idea is called Schrödinger's cat. You probably already know. The Geiger counter is connected to a hammer, which is connected to a Poisson bottle. So the idea is if the Geiger counter ticks, let me go back a little. We put a quantum, a radioactive atom, with a cat in a cage. But the cage, small cage of course, we don't want any special ambiguity there. The cage consists of a hammer, which is triggered by the ticking of the Geiger counter, then a Poisson bottle, which the hammer will break if it activated, and then Poisson bottle breaking means release of poison that will kill the cat. What was assumed is that the whole chain is contaminated by that quantum superposition of possibilities. This is an uncalled for assumption, not needed. Suppose they collapses the Geiger counter. Geiger counter will tick. As soon as it ticks, then Poisson bottle will break, etc. If it doesn't tick, then nothing needs to happen anyway. This is clean common sense. There's no need to assume that subsequent steps, the hammer, the bottle, the cat, become superpositions. The wrong assumptions, you get puzzles, and we all struggled for quite a while, for decades, to solve this puzzle. Absolute wastage of time. Eventually, people, materialists, thanks to them, they pointed out that there is this decoherence. But they became overzealous again. They forgot that you cannot decohere the quantum measurement apparatus, and the amplifying apparatus to still understand how collapse can occur. You see? So both ways we made mistakes. When you correct the mistake, the fact remains, which is mathematical, that no material interaction can ever collapse a quantum superposition possibility into actuality. This is important to remember. Then you will not be misled by the many, many solutions that are often proposed and many people still believe. Because material interactions cannot do this. Whatever they are proposing, there must be something wrong. And in fact, this wrongness has been demonstrated time and time again. People just routinely forget that it doesn't work the way they are suggesting. Material interactions cannot resolve the quantum measurement problem. And quantum measurement problem includes the ambiguity introduced in the measurement apparatus or the amplifying apparatus. That's the quantum measurement problem. How do we resolve it? It is resolved only when the observer observes it, obviously. And the observer brings something that is not material. This single idea was given by von Neumann, that is, saves the world. I added the additional concept that the consciousness of the observer, instead of individual, instead of being dualistic, it must be the ground of all being, oneness consciousness. That's it. Once you solve the problem this way, then still there is a problem of what makes the brain quantum. And this is where we have to realize that in order to make sense of what the brain gives upon measurement, and electrical apparatus gives the electrical images, and human consciousness cannot make any sense of it. It makes sense only if it uses human mind an organizing principle that can make sense of such things. We know that we make sense with our mind of television images, which are also electrical images, or images on a computer monitor, electrical images. How do we do it? With our mind. So the very simple thing to recognize is that the mind is quantum. If the mind is quantum, brain becomes quantum, and everything else just follows. And the big mystery of how the brain, acting as a macroscopic quantum, macroscopic object, material object, the room temperature can be quantum, just as a Geiger counter, which is also a material macro object at room temperature, becomes quantum when it contaminates an electron. Similarly, brain becomes quantum when it contaminates mind. So, existence of mind, and in the same way, we can think of feelings come from vital energies, existence of these vital energies. That's also another way of cognizing what the brain is giving us. That cognition is also part of our animal ancestry. Animals did not have mind, but they did have vital energies, feelings. And feelings can also then cognize. Once you assume that these things are there, then brain can cognize. Mammalian brain can cognize with feeling, human brain can cognize with both feeling and thinking. Materialists just assume this is the property of the brain. Cognition is the property of the brain. Just like they assume that living cell has automatically the property of living, like survival. Survival is not a molecular property. Nobody has been able to prove a surviving or produce a surviving molecule starting from scratch in the laboratory. So this is the materialist habit. You just define the problem away. Materialist science has no explanation for what is life, what is consciousness, this question. They cannot be part of the definition, like brain cognizes, which already is assuming that the brain is conscious, or living cell is alive. No, it does not work that way. Quantum science goes deeper. It can give a proper definition, a proper ontology. Notice that materialist science has no ontology. How can you do science without ontology? Ontology defines what we call truth, an archetype. Materialist science has no concept of truth, and therefore truth has become relative. You must have noticed how we have proliferation of so-called conspiracy theories. But the first conspiracy theory is this idea of matter is all there is. Okay, so what happened subsequently is remarkable. We were able to prove the spiritual idea already, that yes, indeed, there are five-fold experiences: sensory experience, the vital experience of feeling, mental experience of meaning, intuitive experience of the archetypes, and the self. And study of each answered all the questions that have been outstanding so far, for which only piecemeal ideas have been developing. The idea of five experiences already appears in Vedanta and Kabbalah. Other ideas have been more recent. For example, the idea of unconscious, or the idea of even collective unconscious. These are ideas of the great psychologists Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Quantum physics experienced that in a scientific way. What is unconscious? It's the realm of potentiality, where objects are all waves of possibility. Conscious awareness is when that potentiality collapses. into subject and object. In this way, we explain cognitive science, psychology, biology, because life is explained as well. Sheldrake's theory of cell differentiation gives us a theory of feeling, as well as the Lamarckian theory of evolution of development, organs. Connection is made between biology, psychology, neuroscience, cognitive science, and transpersonal psychology, all in the one fell swoop. Even economics has been dealt with. I wrote a book, Quantum Economics, based on Adam Smith's original ideas and showing that it really should have been built on the basis of fivefold experiences of the human being and not just the material experience, and therefore only the material goods and services. In this way, we see in quantum science a science which explains all of natural science, all of social sciences. Nothing is left, except, of course, the arts and humanities. That's fine. Everything can be explained on this one science. Well, this is the message that I want to leave you with. Rest of it, the conference will explain, the various speakers will explain. Thank you.
Ringraziamo Arik Rosquali per la sua brillante introduzione alla scienza fisica quantistica, ma vedete come io prendo due oggetti, un oggetto materiale, vero? E allora io, materialista, mi propongo di spiegare la quantistica con interazioni da una maniera o un'altra. Non è possibile, ha detto lui. Non è possibile, ma cercano sempre. Vedete che per i materialisti la porta non si apre. Ma allora, dove si va? In nessun parte. Invece, con la coscienza, ha detto lui, tramite mind che si può tradurre nelle lingue latine, mentale, sì, qualcosa che non è il cervello, è al di là. E il cervello, che è materia, e anche la connessione che è fuori spazio-tempo, ma non abbiamo tempo per sviluppare questi argomenti. Questa linea, che non è una linea, questo connubio, direi, tramite la coscienza, che è la base di tutto quello che noi possiamo fare, percepire anche, è lì che il mondo si apre, la porta si apre, e quello è l'inizio, è il suo messaggio. Quindi se c'è una domanda io non risponderò, magari qualcuno, se no andiamo avanti. Era un po' di teoria, ma ci voleva, no? Sì. Tutto bene? Tutto...